Hello.
Hey, Jennifer, always on the move.
Yeah, yeah, I'm in my car again. Yeah, but I did send around a draft of the PowerPoint and the final report.
Oh, I have to look. I saw the report. I didn't see the PowerPoint, but I thought the report was great.
Oh, yeah, I think I just sent the PowerPoint to Karen and Jim. But thank you for the report. So I didn't know. Have you already started the meeting, Jim? Or am I just jumping in?
You're muted, Jim.
No, we were waiting for you and anybody else that is coming.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so we just have to talk about the report and I guess the PowerPoint for those of us who've seen it. But the PowerPoint doesn't go into as much detail as the report that you sent out. Is that just it's PowerPoint, right? And you can fill in the blanks.
Yeah, PowerPoint is not a paragraph summary. It's bullet points to just remind you what you're going to talk about. So I did not make the PowerPoint very lengthy. It's really just a headline kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Yep. But you're not going to be able to read the whole report anyway. It's supposed to be 15-minute total for each committee. And that includes any, questions or comments that other folks who are listening might have. So I think if you prepare about 10 minutes in the report, I think we had like 5 bullet points or 5. Well, we want to talk about what we looked at, what we discussed, and then what, tentative conclusions that we came to. The report is kind of laid out like that.
Well, let me ask Leslie and Scott if you guys had any comments about the report or things that we missed.
Actually, I haven't seen the report. Jennifer, would it be possible to get put on the distribution for those?
Yeah, do you have access to the drive that has all the committee work on it?
No, I don't. Maybe Rachel could send me a link or something to it.
Yeah, Rachel should. I'm sorry, I thought you had access because all the stuff is on the shared drive.
No,
each committee has a folder.
Yeah, I'll give you permission. I'll give you permission to have the access to the Google Drive.
Or Scott, I could email it to you. What's your email address?
Scott.Konopasek, KONOPASEK at cartercenter.org.
And I did get the PowerPoint. Sorry, Jennifer. I have so many emails right now.
I guess I was better than I thought I was. I couldn't remember who I sent it to.
Well,
my favorite graph in the PowerPoint and the report is the one that shows that over time, everybody is pretty much using early voting equally.
Mm-hmm. Jennifer, my only thought is, I'm trying to think of how to word it, but I know you definitely included some of the comments from the most recent open feedback period. My understanding, and maybe we need to get clarity on this, is that is always the process. That anytime a county puts forth their early voting plan, that there's an open period. And if that is in fact true, it feels like that should be something that we include, right? Not just to refer to this, because again, I wasn't aware of that. I think I sent you an email because Common Cause or someone had sent me something saying that give your feedback, and I guess I never knew, which is horrible since I worked the election, but I didn't know folks could give feedback on the early voting plans back to the counties, county election folks.
Yeah, and the one that I pulled the comments from was the state, because if the counties don't have unanimous support for the early voting plan, then they have to go and get the state board to approve it. And so the state board sent, I think I sent it to you, Jim. They sent all the comments that were on their drive so we could read them over. There were, I don't know, almost 100 pages of comments, which is great. And that was the state website, because they had about, I don't know, 15 counties that didn't have unanimous decisions. So they, yeah, so that's where I got those comments. But I guess every county also has public comment.
Yeah, so I guess that's what I'm saying is I feel like as in this report, we're kind of saying, look, people think early voting is a good thing. And one good practice that we have is the plans are not made without the public's input, right? So it just feels like somewhere just to mention it, and then it makes sense that we then refer to the fact that in the most recent comments, those were some of the comments in that open period that we have captured in the report, but it gives it more context and helps explain that opportunity that citizens have, I guess.
Yeah, if
So
you want to, if you just want to go into the document and kind of word that the way you
Okay.
think should sound better, that'd be
Sure.
fine.
Okay, we can do that.
You know, as far as the location of committees, or early voting sites, I think we addressed that in the report. Should we address it? Should we be firmer in a conclusion about the county should have more sites, you know, or there should be some standard to determine sites based on population or something?
Well, the problem is I looked at a couple of counties, and like for one county, it was one site for every 5,000 voters. And for a bigger county, it was one
Yeah.
site for every 30,000 voters. And so it's hard to like, I guess what I wrote was there's such variety that it really, I mean, there should be some correlation, but every county, you know, really is different, and they have to decide for themselves. I guess that's what, I mean, if you think that, we didn't come up with any kind of formula, did we?
No. I just go back to Henderson County because one of the people on the committee brought that up, and there was only one early voting site in Henderson County, and you know, and it was far from some of the population. You know, so I think we can just say that and you know, say that more sites are better.
Yeah, having a formula is really kind of problematic because every jurisdiction is different. The geography is different. The topography, especially in North Carolina, where you have mountains, and there are different historical voting patterns. So I think kind of a good approach is to point out where you think there's insufficient, and look at the public input, public comment is one of those pre-election safeguards to make sure that that voters are given an opportunity to vote. You know, so I had to deal with formulas previously, and they're really pretty problematic because they don't always fit the situation.
Yeah, it was hard for me to figure out. Sorry, my car is talking to me. It's hard for me to figure out how to word that, because I did have somebody who was on a board of elections say that, you know, one year they had 3 sites that weren't near anybody, and they got hardly anybody there. And so the next year they only had 1 site for the whole county because the argument was nobody went, but it's because they weren't near the population areas. So it was kind of a self-fulfilling thing that they figure was really just an attempt to suppress the vote.
Yeah, what really the main variable is cost. You know, early voting is very expensive, and the more sites you have, the more obviously the more expensive it is. But it's inordinately expensive as a means of voting for, you know. But it gives people convenience. So that's always kind of the trade-off, because when you add a site, you have to hire more people, you have to train more people and pay rent. And, it's a pretty complicated formula. So I would just try not to overgeneralize a solution, and maybe just recognize what safeguards are in place, like the public comment and input, to counteract that. My 2 cents worth.
No, that makes sense. I think pointing out like some of that, like one of those charts points out that Republicans use it as much as Democrats. I mean, it's pretty universally popular. So, that would, it's not a partisan thing.
Yeah, it's really not a partisan thing. It's a cost thing. It's a work thing. Can you staff them, and can you secure
Yeah.
them?
Yeah. Well, since I'm driving, if someone wants to go into the document and like reword that in a good way, that'd be great.
The only other thing I thought of was, is there anything else about Sunday voting? Should we encourage that? I can't remember what exactly the report says right offhand, Jennifer, but I know that was that's a controversial thing in some places.
Well, what we put, I think I put something like, at least one weekend day is very popular, and public opinion shows that Sunday is probably the most popular because, if you're working 6 days a week, you're likely to have Sunday off.
Yeah.
I think that's the way I worded it. But I mean, clearly all those comments for the state board were all like, 2 days of Sunday voting. There were a lot of people who wanted both Sundays, It was definitely popular.
Yeah, so Sunday is one of those aspects about early voting that is kind of partisan, because souls to the polls kind of programs are seen or feared by Republicans to favor the Democrats. So that is the one place that I've seen partisanship kind of come in decision making, is how many Sundays, and which locations on Sundays, and that kind of thing. So just some background.
Well, is there anything else about the report that either of you or Jennifer think we need to change or add? If not, we can tinker with that part about locations, and then I think we'd be ready to present, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think I even put in there that Sunday voting was, one thing that was had partisan support. Yeah. Yeah, if everybody could look over the 5, I think there are 5 bullet points at the end of kind of our conclusions. And yeah, just go over those one more time and make sure that you're okay with them.
Yeah. So I've got the report up now. I was able to get it. Thank you, Rachel.
Okay.
On number 5, voting on college campuses. Do most of the kids at North Carolina colleges, are they local to the area, so they would be registered there at the college, or are they still registered at home wherever their parents are, their home of record?
It varies.
Yeah. There's always a lot of provisional ballots cast at colleges that end up not being counted because kids think they can vote and they're registered somewhere else. So so it's not as straightforward as what it seems, I guess.
Yeah, we're working hard to ensure that students understand the residency requirements. But yeah, there's always going to be the student who doesn't understand, but we appreciate that they're allowed to vote provisionally. And then of course, it becomes clear that they shouldn't have. or didn't
Well, and
understand.
certainly we have quite a few community colleges as well. And
Mhm.
a lot of those students are very local and, you know, that access is important for them. So,
Mhm. Definitely.
but it is, yeah, a variety. I think we're still, Leslie, you would know, I think our out-of-state population is still for the state colleges, like under 20%. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a few of the schools have been approved to expand that in recent years, but for the most part, yeah, we're actually, I can't remember the ranking, but we're one of the top states where most of our students are in state,
That's
like in the
great.
top 10.
Yep. Love the UNC system.
Mhm.
Cool. But that was something that, yeah, the committee talked quite a lot about students. With the understanding that if you get in a habit as a young person of voting, generally you keep that habit, and that's good for democracy.
Right. It's and maybe a point to make in here is that voting on college campuses should be tied to a pre-election voter registration, voter education effort to make sure that the kids are actually prepared and qualified to vote uh, at the campus. Uh, it's always, I've always found it heartbreaking when a lot of kids want to vote for the very first time and they just haven't done their homework, or they don't know ahead of time what they need to do to have their vote counted, and they show up on election day and it's
Yeah.
disappointment or they're misled to thinking their vote will count if they cast a provisional, and under the laws of most states they won't. So
Yeah, that's back to the Civic Education Committee.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And we certainly need that. That way, I think every committee had somewhere in there funding is needed and civic education. That was a theme throughout.
now, well, if we can figure out how to get people to pay attention when they do have the information, we'll make great strides.
Yeah, I think husbands would have that, or wives would like that with their husbands too.
Well,
Amen.
I think the early voting committee was less controversial than maybe some of them. I think we hit the high points, didn't we? Number of days, locations, which weekend days.
Yeah, the only thing that I mean, I was looking back through because one of the things I included in the report was the statute. Where is it delineated in statute 163? And the only thing that we didn't really spend much time on was same-day registration, which is part of early voting. But that the statute's not very long, or the subsection of the statute, and basically it says you got to show, I don't know, 2 or 3 of these documents, and it lists like 8 documents, and says that the county has 48 hours to verify your stuff, and then your registration counts and your ballot counts, something like that. But we didn't talk about it very much, but I guess it's just not, I mean, it's a good thing, and we kind of agree on that, and we didn't want to change it. So there you go.
There was also a couple bills in the legislature that were going to change some parts of this, maybe some of same-day voting, same-day registration. Can't remember the details, but I know those were, sort of tied up in court. I don't know whether they've been resolved yet and whether that would affect early voting. Do you know? Senate Bill 747 or something like that.
I don't remember changes to early voting registration. I'm just remembering the mail-in ballots, grace period change. I know that the change of the board is still in dispute in the courts. That's 749 though, I think. We can go back and look at that. I don't remember any changes the same day.
I can check with the state Patrick Cannon at State Board of Elections next week. Otherwise, otherwise I think we're good, right? Anybody have anything else?
Yeah, I think we came to conclusions pretty easily in this committee.
Yeah,
Nice
well,
to have something that's bipartisan and support.
Mhm. Well, good job writing it. I think, yeah, looks good. I'll add my one little sentence about it being a positive thing that folks have the ability to have input. I'm not sure every state does that.
Yeah, that's a good point to add. And let me tell you, I mean, I don't know if anybody had a chance to read that, but there were literally over 100 pages of comments about early voting, about Sunday voting.
Hmm.
And some people went into great length about why it was so important.
Jennifer, did you read all the comments?
Not all 100 pages, but I tried to skim through, especially the long ones. I was like curious, why would you write, I don't know, 12 sentences on it. So I did read those. It was good.
Well, is
Good.
there anything else?
Lots of democracy.
Is there anything else we need to cover?
I can't think of anything. Everybody's going to be there. Has told Rachel, right? Everyone's going to be there July 15th.
Mhm.
Great.
All right, thanks everyone. Have a good weekend and a happy 4th.
Yeah, you too. You all too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yep. And we'll see you
Yeah.
in weeks.
All righty. Take care.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank
Bye-bye.
y'all. Have a good one.